Today, we're diving into a really personal story. It's about something I think a lot of us have gone through, but maybe don't talk about enough. When a really close friendship just ends, suddenly with no explanation. It's confusing, it's painful, and this is one person's story of navigating that. The whole thing starts with this one simple sentence. I used to have a friend. Wow. Right away, you can feel the loss in those words. It tells you that something that was once so important is now just a memory. And that's where our story begins. So, to really get why the ending hurts so much, we have to go back to the beginning. We have to understand just how good things were. The narrator describes this time as a truly good chapter in her life. This friendship was born in college. The narrator introduces us to her friend, Naina. And they weren't just, casual friends. They were great friends, the kind you make during those really formative years. And this really paints the picture of how close they were. They talked almost every single day. Think about that. This wasn't just someone she knew. This was a core part of her daily life, a bond built on constant communication. But then, everything changed. Just like that. The connection that was so strong just broke. The daily chats, the messages, all of it just stopped. And the most brutal part of it all was how it happened. There was no big fight, no dramatic argument. The friendship just ended in complete silence. No reason, no explanation. She was just gone. Of course, the narrator's first reaction wasn't anger, it was pure concern. I mean, wouldn't yours be? She did what any of us would do. She called, she sent messages. She kept trying to reach out, thinking something terrible must have happened to Naina. And this wasn't just a short-term thing. A year and a half went by. Can you imagine that? 18 months of silence, of replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you did wrong, and getting absolutely no answers. All that time, all that silence, it really starts to get to you. It leads to this intense internal battle where you're just stuck in your own head, torn between worry and just plain hurt. This slide captures that inner conflict perfectly. On one hand, you've got that genuine worry for your friend, that voice asking, is she okay? Is something wrong? But on the other hand, the pain starts to set in. And you can't help but ask yourself, wait, am I the only one even trying here? And that feeling that you're the only one invested, it just becomes toxic. The narrator says it felt like something was eating at me from the inside. That's such a powerful way to describe the ache of a one-sided effort. Finally, she reached her breaking point. To protect her own peace, to stop that gnawing feeling, she had to do something. So she took a deep breath and deleted Naina's number. It was a painful act of self-preservation, a way to finally shut the door. And then, just when you think the story's over, it takes this really strange, almost unbelievable turn. Months later, a text from an unknown number comes through. It's Naina. But it's not an apology, it's not an explanation. It's a request to subscribe to her new channel. It was the confirmation that she was okay, but delivered in the most impersonal way you could imagine. So what do you do when the closure you've been waiting for never comes? The narrator realized she couldn't wait forever for an answer. She had to find her own peace, her own closure. She had to learn the art of letting go. And this is the big realization that changed everything. She started to reframe the entire friendship. It wasn't a failed story. It was just a completed chapter. Some people come into our lives for a season, not a lifetime, and their chapter, beautiful as it was, is simply over. With this new mindset, she could look back without all the bitterness. She didn't have to forget the good times. Instead, she could just accept it for what it was and say, Naina was a good chapter of my life. That's acceptance. That's valuing the story without letting the ending ruin it. And this is really the core lesson she learned from this whole thing. Life is just a series of letting go, of people, of expectations, of the past. You can't avoid it, so the goal becomes to get better at it, to master it. And in the end, we're left with the narrator's own question, one that she still thinks about. Was it the right move to let her go? Or was it stupid to stop trying, even if it felt hopeless? It's a tough question, and it really makes you think about your own life, doesn't it? What would you have done?